that get triggered exactly like we have seen today?
Well, these Pacific Islands have now had several hours' notice, but one of the concerns is that despite the warnings, people simply don't want to leave their houses. But they have got a few hours' notice, so we'll have to see if those warnings are heeded. But in some of the smaller islands, if the water is higher than the islands, then there isn't much they can do.
They're just there on the screen, just underlining the point we were making earlier of Japan just sitting on this ring of fire, just these tectonic plates, three of them that meet, making this such an area prone to this sort of thing.
Well, the Asian plate goes underneath the Pacific plate and often just pushes it up, and that's why there is a risk of tsunamis. Normally just inches along, but on this occasion it's been the biggest earthquake in the region since records began. Hence the very large tsunami, registered 8.9 on the Richter scale. That's led to the tsunami that's now troubled Japan and now spreading across the Pacific Ocean.
And those pictures there that are currently on the screen, just giving you a glimpse of just the size of the wall of water that has hit Japan and now threatens elsewhere. Palakosh for now, thanks very much, thank you.
Well, let's speak now to our World Affairs correspondent Humphrey Hawksley, who's been following the very many developments after this earthquake struck off the northeast coast of Japan at 2:45 local time. As we've been seeing, Humphrey, the scale of the damage in the northeast off Sendai is just remarkable, just extraordinary to see.
It's totally horrifying, and thinking this is the middle of the afternoon, without warning, they might have been prepared for earthquakes, without warning, we've seen the sheer force of water, several different pictures, quite difficult to piece together. But the one particularly that struck me is, I think it's a high street in Sendai itself, where you see that the waves have just come in, they've dumped everything it's part and withdrawn because it's dry at the moment. The road itself is dry. So this was something that happened in a minute or two, and complete and utter devastation all around.
It's hard to make sense of some of the pictures that you're seeing because everything is so mangled that you can't quite tell what you're looking at.
Well, you see snatches of them. At Sendai Airport, you see the water almost as high as the air bridge. So imagine a jumbo jet sitting against that. We've seen houses that have literally been swept up and carried along. Ships, the same thing, banged against a city wall. There was a small freighter that happened to, and then the cars and the trees and what you see almost is something out of a tourist brochure, a surf wave gradually coming forward, and then it hits the land, and then it becomes the black sludge of the agricultural land, moving more and more slowly, but that doesn't take away the force of the things it destroys.
And we've seen pictures as well, as you're mentioning agricultural land. It looks like tinder, like matchsticks, of buildings that have been completely demolished, mixed with cars and boats, and then there are fires on top of some of the debris making their way across this farmland.
Well, the fires would come from probably the gas in people's houses that go up. But I mean, what you've got to think, Maxine, on all of this is that we have a death toll now that's gradually risen throughout the hours. I think it's around 40 now. But amongst all this, the people that we know are buried in these landslides that are calling for help in their houses, and all the sort of tragedy that is likely to unfold from it.
The figure of the number of people missing at the moment very much up in the air. Humphrey, for the moment, thank you very much indeed.
Well, there we continue to see the pictures of the tsunami itself that has hit Japan since that earthquake, the earthquake that struck at 2:46 in the middle of the afternoon. As Humphrey was taking us through, the current death toll is now at 44, a magnitude of 8.9, this earthquake. And as we were telling you a little earlier, one of the more recent developments, a boat carrying 100 people that is reported as missing. No developments, no word as to where